recording.
Okay. Welcome, folks. We're back.
We are back, Dad, and we're waiting on Shelbs. Shelbs is going to join us. He's coming.
Running. Hey-o.
Hey,
We're here. Pepper's here. Hi, Pep.
Everybody's here. Pepper down.
Aw.
Oh, boy, she's naughty.
She likes me. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I make her excited. Sorry.
Today
Sit.
we're going to
Sit.
talk something about
No.
something that's very relevant right now with people, and that is inflation.
Oh boy.
Inflation.
The topic of the moment. Inflation is on a rise right
On
now.
the day
Yes.
that the debate is happening, which is tonight.
Tonight. Yes. Yes.
Kamala Harris and President Trump are going to be debating.
Former President Trump.
Yeah.
Well,
Do we call him that?
I don't think so. I think you still
We just call him Mr. Trump?
introduce them
Or
as
what-
president.
You do? Well,
Yeah.
no, because he is president. He deserves the
Yeah.
respect of that
He
title.
was president. Could again be president.
He could be
Yeah.
again president.
Yeah.
And I will
And
respect whoever's elected.
I urge you all to stay awake during the debate, even though you have a tendency to maybe go to sleep. But
If you're 91, you definitely go to sleep.
Yeah.
right. So it's probably going to be just right to keep you awake. So enjoy yourself. Get some popcorn or whatever it is that you
Jack and
like.
Coke,
Coke, yeah.
beer.
Yeah.
Get your uppers and your downers. Get
Yeah.
ready. Yeah.
Anytime somebody says the best ever, take a shot.
Well,
Yeah.
It's gonna be a good debate. Good debate.
It
Like I'm
is.
very excited for it.
It is gonna be. I'm
because,
excited for it too.
You know, I am coming to terms with the fact that I do like politics.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I am a fan of politics. I know we're not supposed to discuss politics. I think it's healthy to discuss politics. But boy, the country is in quite a place right now, and it seems like this is always the case when it comes to a presidential election. So here we go again.
Yeah, and what we could
Yeah.
see tonight, I don't know, but what
Yeah.
we could see tonight is an actual debate.
I hope so.
That would be nice.
And that would be really refreshing. And
Yeah.
I hope that both parties bring their debate skill to the table instead of the yelling, you're fat, you're ugly, you're a
That's-
girl, you're
yeah.
a boy.
I mean,
don't
I would
care
love
about
if
that
they
crap.
actually discuss issues.
Yes.
Like that is my biggest complaint in recent debates is like all of a sudden we're in the weeds talking about golf scores, and it's like well, let's talk about the issues that America is facing,
Mm-hmm. Right.
right? And there's a lot of them.
You could
Yeah.
get a piece of paper and have truth on one side and not truth on the other
That's a
side.
hell of an idea, Dad.
And see how much it adds up to by the end of the debate.
Or put,
And
Trump
then just
on.
cross out truth
Cross
because
out
they're
truth
politicians.
because they're
Yeah.
politicians.
Yeah.
Or put Kamala on one side and, or Harris and Trump.
Yeah.
And something that Harris said that you like, write that down under Harris. Something that Trump says that you like, write that down on the Trump side. And when it comes down to voting, see what you liked the most.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm guessing
That'll
one
help.
side may be substantially off-putting or off kilter, depending on what your vibe is and who your particular.
Well, I think that the reason I like politics, and it was I actually just saw this really interesting clip from Patton Oswalt, of all people, comedian Patton Oswalt. And essentially what he did is he was like talking about how the president kind of encapsulates a 4-year time in America. And what he did is he kind of like went through all the presidents, and I don't remember where he started, but he hit Nixon, and he's like, think about where Nixon was. Conspiracy theories, everybody's
Yeah,
afraid of their
yeah.
shadow, like a lot of those vibes were taken. And then he eventually gets to the current president, and he's like, now we're in the multiverse of things. No one knows what's true, no one knows what's to believe. You got a whole bunch of different like truths, if you will, and it's really hard to decipher. So it was a really interesting way to encapsulate like what a president actually stands for, and it does kind of keystone a country at a certain time.
And it's quite easy to locate the facts on your own. It is quite
Careful
easy.
what you
If
wish
you
for.
if you think they're lying about something, just find it out on your own. Don't talk to your aunt and your uncle or your mom or your dad about it. Find out the information on your own.
In speeches, it tends to be exaggeration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a contest. It's
Yeah.
a contest, man.
And one thing we want to talk about here is what causes inflation. And we have an expert on our panel today who has had some studies that way and so on, and that's Shelby.
Yeah, I mean, light studies regarding economics. I'm by no means a professor yet, but hey, maybe one day.
Maybe one day, yeah.
Maybe one day. Yeah, you know, inflation is a tough thing to curb. And it's essentially like a really interesting time in America where groceries are as expensive as they've ever been. And I think what we're seeing in our society is that middle class is shrinking or afraid of where their incomes may be in the future. And it's causing a little bit of a pressure cooker in society. We live in the metropolitan area of Seattle, greater area, and when we're driving down the street, we're seeing people that are living on the streets. And a lot of that has to do with the cost of existence right now. Like, just to be a productive member of society, you have to have an apartment, you have to be able to buy groceries, you have to have insurance, like the list goes on, and before you know it, like your dollar not going as far really squeezes that middle class, that lower class in a really big way. Yeah, so it's gonna be
So what causes it?
what causes
Do you
inflation.
think, Dad?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do I think causes it?
Yeah, what do you think causes it?
Our dollar isn't as valuable as it used to be.
Right.
How about government increased public spending? Is that
Increase public spending? I would imagine it would, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and we have some experience with that recently, you know. After the pandemic, which was a special case, but
Yeah.
it's still inflation went up, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I mean, when the government sent out the checks, it essentially
Flooded our economy.
it flooded the economy, and we saw a big boost of that in the market. And what you saw is a lot of people that got this new money and they were spending it on really weird stuff at the time. A lot of it went back into the market, which I think caused it to peak.
Yeah.
A lot of that, if you remember, that was right when crypto got big. Crypto and NFTs was a big thing going on. So people were investing in that, thinking that it was going to be a good win for them long term. So you saw a bunch of money hit the economy. And what happened is a lot of the labor force never really came back the way that we thought it would.
Oh, it
And I
did,
can't say
yeah.
that it's like one to one the reason people aren't working anymore, but it definitely felt like it caused people to really question where their priorities were and whether they needed to be going to work as much as they were.
So you've got an example of, I think, how tough it is out there is the fact that Boeing is striking because they want a 40% increase in wages, not a 25% increase in wages.
Yeah.
Is that
And
right?
that's right.
Holy
And
cow.
that started, I believe, today. And they're not meeting in the middle is the problem. But it's really hard to tell somebody that's having a hard time making it that they don't deserve that. And a lot of people would say, well, they gotta change their spending, you gotta change the way that you're living your life. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's very difficult to do.
Yeah. And
Necessary, but difficult.
the more that the wages increase, then the cost of things, the prices on things increase, not the cost. The cost may not increase at all, except that it will after a little bit of time, the manufacturers of this stuff that people buy, but it'll set a new baseline. And so the next time they think about the wages, that's the baseline. So they want a 25% on that or so, and then there's another baseline.
Right.
And there was one country that we all are aware of, perhaps, and that was Germany, who the mark, which was their currency, you could fill a wheelbarrow full of it and to try to buy something. Anyway, the inflation was so bad that the money was pretty worthless, and that's where that Hitler got in time because he was good at speeches. But the thing is that his cohorts and so on, they began to develop a very, very bad type of culture. It was a socialist culture, but it was a bad socialist culture. And so then they blame people for it. See, that's the other thing that happens when these levels get higher. They blame somebody for it, like who's responsible for that increase in costs and prices and stuff like that. Well, often it's the president. See, well, he doesn't have all that power. It's Congress that has that money power. And
So how do we lower it?
huh?
How do we lower inflation? How do we recorrect now that in our area, $20 an hour is minimum wage?
Yeah, well, how do you?
$20 an hour back when I was a kid, you were wheeling in the bread.
During the start of the Second World War, my dad made $3,000 a year, and that was a good wage. A
Yep.
very good wage.
Oh, yeah.
That's not a month.
No, that's yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Yeah, and
How does that, how do we break that? How does it get broken
well,
to the point where it can readjust? It's gotta break to adjust, correct?
you know how it happened before?
Yeah, I'm afraid of that. I don't want that.
Yeah, World War III.
Right.
And,
Which essentially put more jobs into the economy,
well, yes,
right?
yeah, including women.
That's when women started working,
That's right. That's when women started
building
working
planes and boats
In,
and guns and,
in earnest. Yeah,
Mhm.
they didn't just have little boutiques and stuff like that. They were building planes and ships and so on. But when the war was over, all these people needed a job. Well, they furnished a job. Housing, underlying housing. My guess is that one of the things that's responsible for inflation is that the real estate markets saw that there were not only one income that was possible to buy a home, there are now two,
Yeah.
and with an increased rate. Guess what? It's still there. And, you know, it's getting so people can't afford housing anymore. It's a very, very tough market. And I hope, like you say, we don't want another war to have to
Yeah.
correct that. And, you know, everybody's afraid of a nuclear war, but, you know, the way to increase wages and prices and everything, put everybody to work, is with the rifle. You know, the infantry.
hand-to-hand
That's
combat.
the way, you know, you don't blow everything up, you gotta have them there to fight.
But we won't do that.
We won't do that, and we don't wanna do that.
I mean, I think warfare has changed so much that
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
nearly as labor intensive. And
We fought by drones now.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's what's going on, like on the front lines in Russia. Like you're having $2,000 drones take out $1 million tanks in some scenarios.
Yeah,
You know.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, what kind of economic hit is that? Where somebody puts $1 million tank and it's decommissioned by a $2,000 drone?
yeah.
Like you're gonna win through economics at that point, right? I mean,
Yeah.
because all the asset they've put into that tank doesn't pay off long term.
Right.
Yeah.
So war probably won't. It's probably different today to where that used to be the case, but not today.
Well, what about Putin?
What about Putin?
Yeah, is he gonna not wanna,
Oh, he's a crazy son of a bitch.
Yeah, is he not,
So-
well, wanna play that game and you want to just blow everything up? He was
I don't think
blowing
so.
up a city here not too long ago.
Yeah, but I mean,
so.
I think what's gonna have to happen is our real estate market is gonna have to take an absolute dive.
Is that right? Yeah.
It, you know, in the short time I was in the mortgage business, you know, we were selling loans and basically betting on the come.
Mm.
And so we would get a young family that, you know, bought a $150,000 home, and we knew that it was gonna inflate to 2.5 in the next 5 years. So we would loan them 135% of that home.
Mm.
So they were in that home backwards.
Yeah, what was doing?
And now people are in their home backwards only because a lot of people bought during or right after the pandemic, you know. And now they've got a house that's not worth what it was when they bought it.
Mhm.
And so now they're stuck there, or if they sell it, they're gonna lose money on it. But our real estate market has to drop. It
Yeah,
has to drop, but it's hard for me to believe that because you've got a 12-house complex going up behind you. We have just across the way, we have another 35-home development going in right in the center of 5 other developments. So it's not slowing down. The prices are $450 starter home.
Right.
Well, the day that $450,000 is a starter home.
That's accurate. Yeah, I mean that is it. Yeah, I mean it's I would imagine it has to course correct at some point.
It has to, does it not?
I think it does. I really think it does, and it comes back to what's going to force people out of their homes. In other words, what's going to cause people to sell. Like there are people that essentially have made a living on renting to other people, and I question like how long that house of cards is going to continue to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the goal has always been buy homes, rent them out, you get mailbox money, easy. Well, you know, when you're taking advantage of your fellow man and now they can't afford it, like, what does that look like? And I guess the fair market being what it is, if that drops to a certain point, the housing prices will go down in regards to rent. But we're just not seeing that. And the real estate people that I talk to have basically been saying the supply hasn't increased. And that's what caused the fall of the '08 crisis, was there were all these homes hitting the market and nobody was buying, so the market fell.
yeah, right.
And now that the demand isn't ceasing, but the supply is also not increasing, which has caused a place where, you know, not a lot of people are selling. Now I read something about Florida having some issue because the big companies are no longer insuring homes in
Yes,
danger
that's happening in
zones,
California as well.
and it's causing the market to fall. Because what's happening is people can't insure their homes.
Your bank isn't gonna loan on it?
Yeah, so all of a sudden they have no way of getting out of it. So people are taking the loss on those homes and selling them because they can't insure them.
And those homes are probably not being purchased because
Uh,
you can't get it
Yeah,
without a loan.
Thus the market falls.
Yeah.
What about the dollar?
What about the dollar
Yeah,
in terms of
it's
the?
the inflation or what's gonna happen to the dollar. We're gonna need a wheelbarrow full of it or to buy anything.
What is our dollar worth right now? It's not worth $1.
About 60 cents, isn't it, something like that?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
But I mean, you see it at the grocery store, right? I mean,
Oh,
what
yeah.
used to cost $5 now costs 12, is what it feels like. And maybe that's not an accurate statement, but as you continue to have inflation run rampant, like there's some chance that we could be in for a tough time.
Yeah.
Yeah, there really is.
Bag of popcorners is $6.69 at Top Food.
Well, I used to go to Mr. Brown's store with a dime to get a loaf of bread. In this town, Auburn, where, you know, where I kind of started out all this stuff, and for a dime, I buy a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
You can't do it now.
$5.50.
Yeah.
Do you think that there'll ever be a time where we are on a one world currency?
I Well, that's, what would that benefit?
Just that we're all speaking the same language, and now we're not essentially beholden to any one territory,
Yeah,
right? So I mean, like if the Chinese dollar is up or down, there's people that are, playing the exchange rates and like watching the ebb and flow of economy. But because we're such a connected world, it feels like we are a one world economy, right?
Yeah.
The bombing in Gaza affects the American stock market. Like it feels like we're so interconnected that part of me is just like, why are we comparing currencies still, especially when it's all digital, right?
Yeah.
Like, I pull up my bank account, it's funny money, right? Like it's if I went to the bank and said, "Hey, give me my entire savings account," they'd say, "Huh, okay,
You
come
don't-
back in a week because
yeah.
the money's not here." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
yeah, it's all out.
so it's, I don't know. That's what's been on my mind is like, how come we're not on a one world currency? And for America, their answer would be because the American dollar has been so strong in all territories. They don't want to give up the power of being
No,
the, top player
yeah, sure.
in the national economy.
I don't believe that you can purchase, I don't believe things would have to change if we were under one world, currency. Like, you can't just go down to Mexico and buy a property. You can't just go to other countries and buy a property. You have to be a national of that country to buy property there. We have really connected a lot of our money to real estate, I feel like.
Yeah.
I would agree, yeah.
And, a lot of people that I know are asset wealthy,
Mhm.
cash poor,
Yeah. That's-
And in a depression, which is the other only thing that can flip us around, cash poor is not a good place to be.
That's right, yeah.
Mhm.
So start stuffing your mattresses, kids.
Yeah.
But even then, like, because I've thought the same thing, start holding on to money. The problem right now is, you hold on to your money, and in a money market, you can almost get like 5% on your money on an annual return. Well, what is that telling you? That's telling you that the bank is willing to hold on to your money at a 5% gain, but it also means that they're turning around and reinvesting that at a
Yeah.
10% gain, at a 20% gain, whatever the number is.
Right.
The bank's sole purpose is to make money for the bank.
Right.
So when you're making 5% on your money, how many other opportunities are there to be making more percent of your money? So to your point, pull it out and put it under the mattress. If every day it's not in a savings account, you're not gaining that interest.
Right.
Your money is literally depreciating before your eyes.
If you have it in a different situation, like you said, a money market or something like that, yeah, I mean, definitely. But if you have it invested into things that you can't take it out until X age, or properties or stuff,
Yeah.
things that you have to sell to regain that cash, then that puts you in a negative situation. Money market, not so much, but the stock market for sure, or a 401k, because you got to be, 60, 65, 67 before you start peeling that money out.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the answer is, but I do wonder if we're headed to, I've not seen groceries go up this rapidly and this high in my 58 years.
Yeah.
I've never, I mean, I was
Yeah.
silly shocked. Oh, I bet. But, I'm talking in a short time, much
Yeah.
like technology. Technology really took off, right? Super lightning fast.
I think.
And same with groceries.
Yeah, and like I know we started talking about the debate, now we're talking about inflation. I think if either one of the candidates tonight come out and actually speak to the American people on this is how we're going to curb inflation, I think that it's
Yeah.
going to be a huge feather in their cap.
Me too.
And it's because our entire society is fearful of the future. Watching groceries go up, watching the middle class start to slip. Like, there's a lot of individuals that are scared in this country right now, and they're looking for someone that has the answer. And if one of these candidates comes up and says, I have the answer and here's what we should do, I think that people are going to be very open to hearing whatever they have to say.
And we have 10,000 people a day turning 65 right now.
Yeah, I heard that yesterday. That's insane.
That's a lot of folks.
Yeah.
One of the things that can happen is the the government turns to socialism.
Mm.
That's what happened to Germany, after all. And it's other countries, Scandinavian countries and whatnot, have partial socialism. And we have it too, you know, Social Security and all that sort of stuff. And one of the guys wants to change that. Well, they're not going to let him change it, that's for sure. There's too many retired people to let anybody change the Social Security thing. But when that turns to socialism, then that's a danger point for this country, because we're away from capitalism.
American dream.
And what?
American dream.
The American dream, yeah. It's like the European countries. Your kids grow up and they do the same thing as your father did, and you know that just continues. Like you
What
look
an
back
idiot.
into history, and that's yeah. They grow up. Are you a shoemaker? Oh yeah, he's gonna be a shoemaker. Yeah. That sort of thing, when there is no, the escape thing would be get on a ship and come to this country. And we're gonna get on a spaceship and go somewhere, or what are we gonna do, you know? So, interesting thing, one of the things from Star Trek that I was noticed about all that is that you know, when they went backwards to get those
Whales.
whales,
Mm-hmm.
and they got on the bus,
Mm-hmm.
and what, and then they came right back off. They said, what does it mean, you know, to money? They don't have money. See, what do they do? I still haven't figured that one out, because I don't think they were clear with it or playing with it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, how did they go?
Yeah. There has to be some way of, and socialism is not the answer, but there's a modified capitalism that includes the socialism to take care of its people, like health care, education.
Yeah, what do you
stuff
think
like
about
that.
social medicine?
I think that has to come.
Yeah, I think that would save a lot of lives.
Yeah.
I do. And
It's come a long way.
it has come a long way. It has, but it also, the fat boys are getting fatter. And I don't know, you know, how to stop that,
Yeah.
because that's very political. But, you know, it shouldn't be that we can get the care that we need, but somebody with less insurance cannot get the care that they need.
Yeah.
And that's criminal, in my opinion. And like this Ozempic and things like that, and diabetic medicine, you know,
Well, that's-
insulin should, I mean, you know, it's a big win, $35, you know, max, but it never should have got there.
It's a socialist point of view, is that, you know, folks are entitled to that kind of stuff. All folks are, you know, and Cuba has it, and well, you know, you said China and Russia have it, but that's a different sort of thing. That's an oligarch and that sort of thing. But there has to be some modification of the whole thing so that there's still an incentive of some sort. And whether it's money or some other thing, some incentive along with the protection of health care, education, all that sort of stuff too. So I don't know what that answer is.
What do you think of the idea of 4 presidents?
4 presidents?
4 presidents. one for each section of our country. I know we're one country and we work to get away from that. Don't get me wrong. I know you know, Confederate and all that crap, but what if the thought process down south is so different than the thought process up north, and the thought process east and west is so different that we needed 4 different presidents?
That's regionalization, and it's already been thought of.
I think it would work.
But, you know, it's.
Takes a
like-
3-to-1 vote for anything to
Yeah.
get moved.
Yeah,
Yeah, but then you run into the situation where you're essentially dividing America into 4 different countries.
yeah, that's
You
right.
you are, or regions,
And if they go toe to toe.
but we already are.
we
They
already are.
fight about it.
Yeah, and then, you know, I think that's the one thing that, you know, what does the president actually do? And I think the president is a representation of America as a whole. So even if there were 4 regional presidents, you can't have them fighting on the national stage, because you gotta show as one unified party.
Right, but yet we won't. Even after this presidential election, regardless of who is elected after this presidency, we will still be a divided country.
But don't you think we'd be more divided if we all had our candidate in power?
I don't know, Shelby. I don't anymore. You know, I see exactly what you're saying and I agree with you. But I'm at a point too where I'm like, we gotta try something.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is exactly the root of the issue, is like, we gotta try something. And, you know, I talked to somebody recently who's like really afraid of the future and like doesn't know where everything's gonna go politically and societally. But something
Revolution.
is going to have to change, right? Are we going to see a French Revolution, right? With the haves and the have-nots and the uprising?
Boy, howdy.
I hope
hope
not. I hope we can figure it out, but you get in between people and feeding their family,
Yeah,
you're a lot closer than you were before that happened,
that's right.
you know? And there's something going on in America in general where when I grew up and came of age as an adult, you know, America was it. You go out and you earn it and you do it
Yeah.
and you put
That's
blood,
right.
sweat, and tears
And if
into
you
whatever
want it,
you're
you can
doing.
get it.
And if you want it, you can get it.
And there's
And
all
as-
kinds of books that'll help you do that.
Yeah, exactly. But then you get like a little bit older and where society is now, and there's a whole group of people that think much more socially than they have in the past in terms of style of government, right? I'm owed this, the government should help me with this. You know, that mentality is pretty big in our society right now.
Yeah,
You know,
it's the universities,
right,
the students,
Yeah.
or the younger generation is thinking of that,
Yeah.
thinking that way a lot.
yeah.
So.
Well, the new CEO, new-ish, CEO of Starbucks.
My God, did you
Right.
hear his contract?
Well, did you hear what he got? He got flamed by the entrepreneurial community because he basically came out and said, "I'm a CEO. If you have anything super pressing, we can deal with it on Monday. I'm not working past 5 o'clock." Right? And everyone was kind of like, "Dude, you're the CEO.
You're the-
That doesn't work."
Yeah.
But I think that comment really speaks to the majority of households in America. Don't worry, I can deal with it. The reason America is the superpower it is because we were willing to go the extra mile
Yeah.
and do whatever we had to do to accomplish the goal. So when you have a huge leader of a company say, hey, you know, be with your family, work-life balance, that sounds great on paper, but you're in a competition with your other man, with fellow man, whether it be another country or this, that, and the other, like you're constantly competing over the same dollar. And I think that when America starts to lose that drive towards capitalism, picking yourself up, going the extra mile, is where we're going to start to falter. And I think we're already trending that direction, which is the scariest thing for, you know, some of the candidates that we're electing. Like, I think like you're seeing 2 very different candidates, and one is much more speaking to like, we got to take care of people, we got to do this, we got to do that. That like perceived softness in that message scares the hell out of the traditional American of the 80s and 90s. The business owner is scared to death that they're going to have to raise their wages another $5 or $10 to compete. Because how are you supposed to manage a business when the margin continues to shrink?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's,
No,
it's not an easy, yeah, no one has the answers, but there's a lot of questions.
Well, we have in our state right now also a tough election.
Yeah.
Governor. gotta do your research on these two guys.
Is that right?
You know, yeah. You know, it's one's soft, one's not.
Mhm.
So you really can't look at them. You can't look at what they say. You got to really dig. That vote for me is going to be a tough vote
Yeah.
for me. I think.
2 senators or something?
Well, one of them was a senator, yeah, Reichart.
Oh, well,
But
check that out.
I think that it's Reichart and Jorgensen. No, that's not right. Shucks. Anyway.
The other guy.
The other guy, but that doesn't mean I'm voting for Reichart or, what is his name,
Uh-oh, you're endorsing candidates.
no, I'm
Uh-oh.
not,
Uh-oh.
I'm not,
We
because
can't
I may
do
vote
that.
for
We
him.
can't do that.
Oh, shoot, anyway,
Yeah.
but, I mean, you've got, everybody has tough decisions right now. And
Yeah.
if you are not doing your due diligence by at least reading your voter's pamphlet, or doing like what Dad said and writing down a list tonight of what you hear that you like, or what you don't like,
Yeah,
so that you can keep that in your mind, discuss it within yourself, and then cast your vote. That's the only way we're gonna change anything.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there don't believe their vote counts. Well, it does. And the day that it doesn't count is the day we're in big, 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 big trouble. But you're right, we already could be on that path
We
to
very
that.
well
And that
could
doesn't
be,
mean
yeah.
to be all doom and gloomy, but the human is a strong creature. And when it comes down to it, they will defend their family,
oh, yeah.
period, no matter what it takes.
Yeah.
They will defend their family.
There's
And-
already some activity going on with regard to what you might call revolution on a broad sense.
Yeah, well, January 6th was kind of a bit of a shocker for all of us, but good conversation today, Dad.
Yeah. What do we do next time?
I don't know.
We'll probably have a debate to debrief.
It'd be fun
Yeah,
to talk
there
politics
you
for
go.
a little while,
There
because
we
why
go.
couldn't we? We're in that realm of the election.
Yeah.
So let's start talking about some hard stuff and our opinions, because we all three are very alike, but we're all three very different in our opinions as well, which is what politics is about.
Yeah.
You and I are supposed to be able to sit down, leave this table and be okay with what the other one said, instead of saying, no, you're full of shit, Shelby, right? Which
Yeah.
you are sometimes.
Never,
But
not once.
I too am also so full of that. But anyway,
Okay.
We'll see you guys,
thanks
next
for
time.
coming,
Good
folks.
stuff. Thanks for being with us.
Tune in to,
the Ivan Files.
yeah,
And your email is,
it sure is.
what is your email?
The Ivan 1933
@gmail.
@gmail.com.
Perfect.
1933.
91 years old, right there. You better listen. He's got a lot to say.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Good work, guys.
All right. We must have gone longer than 15 minutes.
Maybe a bit. Did you not have it on?